If he's going to do that, I need reinforcements. Johnny, are you handy? It's a good man yourself. We'll have an accordion out on the job here. God Almighty, it was 1984 towards 85 towards the end of the miners' strike. I was buying a bag of chips in South Moor and Bob Fox fell into the chip shop like he does, and he said, you know, I've got this idea about we'll do some mining songs, but we'll do it in a different way. We'll have pictures and tell them all about why it's all about and all the rest of it. And the deal was done, kind of more or less. From that point in, a lot of things have flourished from there. And one of the things that we mentioned in the very first incarnation of this thing that we called at the time "How Are You Off for Coals" was an incident that took place, which was the thing that broke the miners' bond. Well, you know it, but in the 1840s, or up till 1844 to be precise, a miner couldn't just go and start work. He had to sign an indenture with the man who employed him, to the point where he virtually owned him. The bond said that I shall not absent myself from my labours, nor shall I cause others of my workmates to absent themselves from their travails, which basically, if you translate it, it just means that if you're not there for any reason whatsoever, the bloke who owns the pit can sling you in jail. And that's precisely what they did in 1843 and 1844 in Thornley and Winkley Hill. There was a serious amount of men, 40-odd men, imprisoned for simply not being at work. And that precipitated the Durham miners and the Northumberland miners to club together, and with their own money they hired a guy called W.P. Roberts, who was a lawyer from Bath and Bristol, that direction, the West Country. And they brought him up to the northeast, and he went in front of the assizes at Durham and argued the case for this bond being an illegal contract and to get the men released. But of course, all the people that were sitting on the bench, they were all colliery owners. I mean, they were magistrates as well as people who had shares in the coal mines themselves. So he was on it for days and days and days and getting absolutely nowhere. So he had a stroke of genius, and he hired the whole lot of them, all these pitmen who'd never been out to Winkley Hill or Thornley, onto a train and took them away down to London in front of the High Court, the Queen's Bench. And he'd been arguing for days in Durham, and it took half an hour in London. And because there was no coal owners on the bench, they just said, that's a stupid contract, nobody can work to a contract like that. And it was scrapped immediately. And all the men were set free, never to work again in County Durham, because nobody would ever employ them. That was the whole thing. And that went right down our families. I'm just going to duck into the Buick, because this is a work in progress. I'm not going to duck into the Buick, because I've been handed a sheet of paper. Look at that, look. Heavens above. So this is Mr. Roberts, the pitman's friend, destined to be the next great coal mining ballad. Oh, you working men of collieries, attention pay to me. And when you've heard my verses, I'm sure you will agree that England has long gone down the hill. It's time that it should rise. If we had men like Roberts, it soon would then revive. Oh, the pitmen a few years ago, good wages they had got, which made them blithe and happy, contented with their lot. But by degrees they'd been brought down, which caused them all to say they'd rather be transported and sent to Botany Bay. Conditions they grew so bad, the miners made a stand. They joined in one great union to stay the owner's hand, and seeking for good justice, the word was passed around. We'll employ lawyer Roberts, the finest to be found. Now as for the new Thornley man, Roberts has stood true. He entered such a contest to make the owners rue. 4 days in Durham he did stand, their trial for to gain, to release those prisoners and get them home again. But still the masters wouldn't yield their cruel ways to mend. So off to London Roberts went, the trial to extend. His men he took along with him, the Queen's Bench for to see, and in less than half an hour he had them all set free. So here's to Mr. Roberts, he is the Pitman's friend. He's worthy of his hire to make the tyrants bend. With unity and argument, the men shall win the fight.